Thank you guys for joining me here back on the show here for our last segment, and we're just gonna go quickly through this Stephon Diggs injury because I can't believe I just glazed over it because of how significant it was, right? Because currently the Texans sit as the number 2 seed in the AFC with a 6-2 record, and despite having their top wide receiver Nico Collins be on the IR still. They've been able, to win some games here, be in a lot of close games, and do a lot of their offense that they were planning on, even still without their top guy in Nico Collins in large part because they still had Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, and Joe Mixon playing great. But now we got the unfortunate news back on Tuesday when they found out that Stephon Diggs, unfortunately, officially now, was going to be done for the season after suffering a torn ACL against the Indianapolis Colts in a non-contact injury. I believe, if I remember the play correctly, he was just running a route at some point in the game, and he went to plant with his right foot and try to cut inside. But once he did that, he kind of was hobbling on his right foot, couldn't really move too well, and then the training staff came on and everything like that, and he was able to walk off the field and everything. But yeah, the MRIs came back. He wasn't able to go back into the game, obviously, but they did some more tests on him, and yeah, it's official. He did tear his ACL, and now he is certainly out for the remainder of the year. And Diggs obviously was one of the blockbuster moves that we saw this offseason, right, during the summer, where he gets traded from Buffalo. He comes over to a new team, a new situation, and joining guys like Tank Dell, Nico Collins. This was the best trio of wide receivers, in my opinion, in the NFL, and they hit it right off, right from the start, right? Stephon was really molding in well with their offense, complementing Tank and Nico. They were all just, the offense was flowing very well, and then you add in Joe Mixon as well. They were in a great spot, but then Nico gets hurt, and now this seemed like a great opportunity for Steph, even more to kind of step into that number one role and really go out and prove that he still got it, right? Obviously, with joining a new team and everything like that, and how everything ended in Buffalo, this could have been a great opportunity for him, but unfortunately, he goes down with this injury. And so far through the year, he's had 47 receptions, 496 yards, 3 touchdowns, and I thought he was doing especially good for C.J. Stroud to have such a veteran, experienced, well decorated wide receiver for a young quarterback that, again, he's only in his second year, but the success that CJ had in his first year, there was already tons of expectations on him. So to have a guy like Steph in there and have success with his own young quarterback and develop that relationship, bringing everything that he learned from Josh Allen over to his relationship with CJ Stroud. Now, I know it's not going to be identical, but some of the things, some of the lessons, some of the relationship building lessons that Stephon Diggs built, he could have made the transition a lot more seamless with CJ, and it looked like it was going down that path, right? It looked like they had a good connection right from the start, but it sort of also softened the blow a little bit with the Nico injury, right? To have Stephon Diggs still and Tank Dell and whatnot. But now going forward, Houston will have to roll with, I say have to, like it's a downgrade. It is unfortunate that you lose Stephon Diggs, but you're going to get Nico Collins back eventually. Tank Dell, I mentioned when Nico got hurt, I thought that he was going to step up then and really go back to his rookie form, but that hasn't really worked out yet. So maybe now knowing that that Stephon Diggs is not coming back, this could really be the chance for Tank Dell to step in and have to step up because, Steph's not coming back. So they're going to need Nico with some other guy to step up for this passing game to really work. So there's that. But also they're going to look to guys like John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods, Steven Sims, guys like that to step up even more. And while it was unfortunate for the team for actually playing football that Stephon Diggs is going to be out for the remainder of 2024, but also personally, I didn't like seeing it because I felt like this was a chance for Stephon Diggs to prove everyone wrong or to prove himself in a new environment to kind of remind everybody that, it maybe just isn't about Josh. Like, he is truly one of the best wide receivers, and I wanted to see him, play the year out and see how far this Texans team would go. So there's that part of it, but also looking at this upcoming offseason with Stephon Diggs. He's going to be 31 years old, and because of the restructuring that the Texans and he did to his contract, it actually makes him a free agent this upcoming offseason, right? He isn't tied to the Texans after 2024. So he is going to be a free agent. The Texans could re-sign him. That's a possibility. But for a guy that was 31 years old, this was also a great opportunity for him to prove to a lot of teams that he could join a new organization, new scenario, and be just as successful into his 30s. But that gets a little bit complicated now because he is coming off of a severe knee injury. He's only played like about half of the year with the Texans, so we don't know how that's going to affect his market going forward. You'd imagine it takes a little bit of a hit just because he is, on the other side of 30 with an ACL injury. You can't imagine too many teams are going to be eager to bring him in, especially for the kind of contract that he's on and everything like that. So that's also the unfortunate part about it. So looking at my thoughts on this entire thing, it sucks for Stephon Diggs. It sucks for the Texans. But looking at the bigger picture for the Texans, does this take them out of a conference championship picture? Am I, freaking out that this season is going to fall apart for them? No. I would say from 1 to 10, I'm probably around a 5 right now. Mainly because I really believe in Tank Dell, and I've seen enough of Nico Collins already this year that if he wasn't hurt, he would probably be on his way to 1,000 yards already. He'd probably be very close to reaching the pace that he was on. But really, to me, it's about Joe Mixon because he also suffered with a high ankle sprain, and he's been out for a couple weeks, and that really, to me, looking at Joe Mixon with the Texans and this Texans team without Joe Mixon, it looked very different. Like they weren't able to get into a groove, and I think Joe Mixon allows them to do that now. And with Stephon Diggs and this passing game taking a hit now, maybe I don't think it's crazy to think about a situation where if you're the Texans, maybe you become more run-oriented. Maybe you start building the offense around Joe Mixon, not so much necessarily getting to Steph, getting to Nico, getting to Tank, or now sticking with that and getting the ball to Tank, getting the ball to Nico. You want to sprinkle it in and spread the ball around, sure, but maybe become more run heavy. Ideally, you like Damian Pierce to come back to have both of them, but you mainly run it through the running game, right? Have Joe Mixon, have him, start the offense off, start the groove, start the rhythm through him in the beginning of the games, because their offensive line also hasn't really been great in pass protection, so throwing the ball doesn't necessarily make it better for the Texans to have more success. You have a great quarterback like CJ, but if the offensive line really isn't holding out, you don't want to maybe be in the worst case scenario where CJ gets hurt, right? That's the last thing you want. So because of that, because of the fact that you lose one of those monsters in your three-headed monster, why not look to Joe Mixon a lot more and start becoming a little bit more run-oriented, heavier sets, heavier formations with him and just two wide receivers out there? I don't think that's too crazy to say right now because Joe Mixon has really hit the ground running with the Texans, so I wouldn't hate that idea either way. And also, what I will say too about this Texans team, their defense has been very good, but I think now it has to play a little bit better. The meter, the dial has been turned up a little bit more, maybe 1 or 2 levels up a little bit more for that defense because they've been playing good, but I think now with the loss of Stephon Diggs, you're going to need to be a little bit more on your toes, a little bit more locked in to the fact that maybe we need to just be just holding teams off, bend but don't break. We don't have the luxury of having the endless amount of offensive weapons where we can score 35 points per game. We just lost one of those guys, right? So with our defense and now this offense losing one of its guys, maybe as a defense, let's hold teams to 20 points, to 18 points, around there, instead of giving up the 23, 24, knowing that our offense just lost a big piece. I think this defense is going to have to step up a little bit more and have a little bit more pressure, a little bit more on their plate, per se, than the offense, just to keep it balanced. So, lastly, on the term of trading for a wide receiver, I don't see them going out and getting a big name, but maybe a guy like KJ Osborne or Kendrick Bourne, who is coming off of a severe knee injury. He could be going for a low asking price. So maybe if they really believe after tonight's game that the wide receivers is not living up to what they thought, maybe you go out and get a cheaper guy like Kendrick or KJ, oddly enough, on the same team, or Darius Slayton perhaps. But I don't see them going after a big name like Cortland Sutton. So that'll all be predicated on tonight, how those young guys look and everything like that, and how this offense looks. So we'll see how everything rolls out. Everything is based on the game. So we're not going to have any more answers until after the weekend. So with that in mind, we're going to get to the Thursday night football game and end today's show. Thank you guys for joining me. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to the Chip Shot Football Podcast, as well as following the network also on all forms of social media. And if you want to see more of the Chip Shot Football Podcast, go to both YouTube channels, the Podcast Network channel and the GSMC Sports Network channel, to catch more coverage around the NFL in a variety of different ways. And to catch more of the live shows, join me every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, each and every weekday, like I said, for more discussions, coverage, breaking news, whatever it is around the NFL, with me, Manny Maradiaga, as your host. Thanking you for joining me again, and I'll see you guys back here again tomorrow to look towards the weekend and talk about what happened on Thursday Night Football.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to